Our first movie tells the story of a friendship behind prison walls that spans more than 20 years.
So welcome to episode 14 of Middlebrow Madness, an exercise in podcast hubris. My name is Derek Gane.
Curtis Adams, aka Uncle Adams, was born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. In his early years, he fell in love with hip-hop music and soon discovered his natural knack for rhyming syllables. Starting out as a freestyle MC, he quickly progressed from performing at parties to performing in front of large audiences at local clubs and bars. Through years of hard work, dedication, and perseverance, Uncle Adams has established himself as a powerhouse MC on an international level. But he's not just a rapper. He is also a motivational speaker, a role model, and a counter-bully. As far as the musical side of things, Uncle Adams is definitely not your typical rapper. Listen to just one of his songs and you will soon understand why. Uncle Adams chooses to write songs containing material that is inspirational, motivational, educational, fun, and personal. Formerly a heavy equipment operator by trade, Uncle Adams has funded all of his music, recording, advertising, merchandise, equipment, and video production independently. Curtis has been an uncle since the very second he was born. In fact, he has a nephew who is 10 days older than him and doubles as his best friend. Naturally, growing up, all of his friends called him Uncle. Adams is his last name, so the name Uncle Adams virtually formed on its own. Derek, that's the biography of famed rapper Uncle Adams. On his own website, and I think he might have written it himself.
It definitely sounds like someone penning their own Wikipedia entry. I've got a couple notes, though, Isabel.
Yes.
By the way, who the hell are you?
Oh, I'm Isabel.
I got a couple notes. One, the city in Saskatchewan is pronounced Regina.
No, fuck you, it's not. That's...
Yeah, it 100% is.
Who?
This is not a bit.
That's... Have they ever thought about re-changing that pronunciation because the kids there are too into it?
I mean, I'm not even from there and I'm into it.
Okay, so we got Regina. What's your second note?
This is more of like a suggestion for the edit because you're the editor on this show. Can you put some very winsome strings behind that? Because that's the saddest fucking short story I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, Derek, you don't even know the saddest part of Uncle Adams. I believe I feel like off air we've talked about Uncle Adams a little bit, but...
In the chat, we talked about Uncle Adams once. I forget the context. Probably failed musicians.
Well, failed is an interesting term to use for Uncle Adams. For those who don't know, Uncle Adams is a rapper. But he's funded everything, like he says himself, but that means he is currently hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, because he put out a mortgage on his house. He actually doesn't, I don't think, even has a house anymore. He sold his car. There was he had a vlog where he was showing how he was continuing his journey as a musician. And there's one episode of the vlog where he signs up for a credit card at Home Depot so he can buy saws there and then sell the saws on Craigslist. He's a man who's sure of himself. Let's say that.
I mean, confidence is good to have. It's a good tool to have in your arsenal.
Until you become the living embodiment of capitalist realism.
Well, that was depressing. What the hell is this about?
Oh, I was going to say, there's one more quote I'd like to tell you, just because this guy's a rapper, and
by this,
rappers
of course,
are cool.
I mean life.
So yeah, his website also has an achievements section. Under his bio, he has performances, his inspiration, and achievements. His inspiration is great because he says the word people about 15 times. But his achievements section, rappers are cool. Rappers are hip and new and modern. But Uncle Adams is a unique rapper because due to the positive nature of his music, Uncle Adams is endorsed by governments, police, paramedics, school principals, teachers, parents, students, youth organizations, and various other high-ranking public officials. I really love that it just says governments as a catch-all.
Governments plural.
Governments love Uncle Adams. Is it the Saudi government?
Did you know that it was illegal to dab in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, thank God! I have to move to Saudi Arabia now.
Oh no! Might I advise against moving to Saudi Arabia for their anti-dab stance?
I'm sure that's the only thing that's like a problem there.
Oh, 100%.
Everything else is going smoothly over in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, everything is hunky-dory over in Saudi Arabia. And hopefully that will get taken out of context for propaganda purposes.
For all of our Saudi listeners, what is the point of this podcast, Eric?
Oh man, for our listeners in Saudi Arabia and everywhere else, this is Middlebrow Madness. Ostensibly, what we do here is at the onset of this show, Isabel put together a massive 256 movie bracket. The list is composed of the Internet Movie Database's top 250 films of all time list, and to round out the bracket to make it an even 256, we both added 3 movies that were just bubbling under the 250, and our goal here on Middlebrow Madness is to find the best film of all time, asterisk, aka the best film on this list according to us. So we each have 3 ringers, and we also have 4 vetoes that we started off with in round 1. Since this is a 2-person operation, there will be times where we don't agree, and sometimes someone just wants it more. And so that's why we have these vetoes. We both have 3 left. I used my veto to move Raging Bull ahead once upon a time, and Isabel used it to move ahead a film that is very, very important to Middlebrow Madness lore, 3 Idiots.
How would you feel if we found out that Mohammed bin Salman was a big fan of this show?
I would be conflicted.
What if Mohammed bin Salman offered to fly us out to Saudi Arabia to perform live for him? Would we take that money? I mean, we could donate it, obviously, but would we do it?
Oh man, no. It's easy for me to say no because I don't even have a passport. Okay,
neither do I. Look at that. We could get passports just to go to Saudi Arabia.
Oh man, and sell out to the Saudis rather than sell out to like Bad Dragon or whoever. We're just gonna sell out to Saudi Arabia.
I mean, it'd be a very American thing of me to do.
Oh man, we will continue the great the great cinephile tradition of Saudi Arabia, a country whose first exhibited movie ever officially was the Emoji Movie. So Middlebrow Madness doing live from Dubai would be just no. That's the Emirates. That's a different country.
Yes, you fucked that one up.
Yep, total ignorant Westerner right here.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen the Emoji Movie? Because I have, and I
have not.
It's not bad.
I listened to the Flophouse episode on the Emoji Movie, which was good.
I think the Emoji Movie is perfectly okay.
It's probably just dull as dog shit.
It's not actually. There's a lot of stuff that happens in it. You get to see like visualizations of Spotify and Instagram. They go into the Just Dance app, which I was not aware was an app. I thought it was just a video game, but you know. They go into Candy Crush. They go to Dropbox. You know that famous thing that kids love, Dropbox?
Yeah, kids love Dropbox. What it sounds like, it just sounds really crass.
There is one genuinely beautiful moment in the Emoji Movie, and it's what do you call meh, which is he's calling himself Gene, I guess. He's a meh emoji.
I want to preserve that first sentence in amber.
So Gene goes to, I think, the Instagram app, and his dad is there too, I believe, or his mom. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but the point is they go into the Instagram app and they walk into someone's picture, and it's like a time-frozen 3D diorama of that moment that someone was in, and it's genuinely beautiful moment. The rest of the movie is fine.
I will not be seeing the Emoji Movie anytime soon.
Unless it's on this list, who knows? Or for a future episode. Maybe we'll do an interquel where we talk about the Emoji Movie.
I mean, maybe, I guess. I mean, it's definitely not on this list. But let me tell you about a couple of movies that are. We've got 2 matchups, as we do every episode. See how I just wrested control back?
Go for it. You can keep going. I believe in you.
So we have The Sting versus No Country for Old Men. And we have Leon the Professional versus Knights of Cabiria. So let's just jump right into the first of these matchups. The 99 seed. We're going to do a little tail of the tape. The 99 seed. The Sting. Released in 1973, directed by George Roy Hill, written by David S. Ward, starring Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Robert Shaw. $160 million take on a $5.5 million budget in 1973 dollars. And 7 for 10 at the Oscars. It was the big winner that year. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Art Direction, Costumes, Editing, Music. So, a bona fide classic, you might say.
That I've never really thought of as a classic for whatever reason. It's always kind of stuck out in my mind. I actually didn't know what he's even about until I watched it this time.
It's about literally a sting.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem to have the cultural tale that I would think it should have.
Yeah, I guess we can get into it when we talk about it.
Yeah.
The opponent, the underdog in this particular fight. And again, this is the second time this particular set of directors has been the underdog, and it's fucking weird to think of them as that. This is No Country for Old Men, the 158th seed in this tournament, released in 2007, written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, based on the novel of the same name by Cormac McCarthy, starring Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, and Javier Bardem. A hit, $172 million take on a $25 million budget, 4 for 8 at the Academy Awards, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay, and in a little bit of editorializing, entirely deserved, all 4.
Is this we had, didn't last episode we also had another Best Picture versus Best Picture?
That's correct.
Wow.
Last episode we had, it was All About Eve and A Beautiful Mind. Or was it 2 episodes?
2 episodes ago, but still.
This is a little higher caliber.
I agree. But I think both these movies would win against either of those other movies.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. Let's talk about The Sting for a second.
All right, so this is our second movie that was directed by George Roy Hill that stars the twin titans of 70s sort of male acting, Robert Redford and Paul Newman. The first one being Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which, if you recall, we both quite liked. And I actually quite liked this as well, because like the other one, this is very, very charming, and it's just Paul Newman and Robert Redford doing stuff. And that's sometimes all you need in a movie is 2 very, very charming dudes doing stuff.
Yeah, and I think that, just right off the bat, I think this is a better film than Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, mostly because it doesn't ever aim for profundity. Like, I feel like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid's, like, reach exceeded its grasp a little bit, where it was attempting to say something, quote-unquote say something. And The Sting certainly has, like, smaller things to say, like, it's clearly, like, an anti-racist film, even though the only black character, like, leaves pretty quickly into the film.
Yeah, spoiler alert, he dies 15 minutes in.
It's a film about, crime, technically, and about, like, police corruption, but at the same time, those things don't really matter in any sort of way. It has that Michael Mann kind of thing of the tragic romance mixed in with the crime. Obviously before Michael Mann, but it's just a goof. The whole movie is a big goof, just a bunch of strings of goofs, and each of them was more entertaining than the last one. I genuinely had a great time throughout the entire thing. I would watch this again in a second. Whereas like Butch Cassidy has lulls. It's
you bring up Michael Mann, and there's also this other strain in this movie where it's like the minutia of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie Thief came to mind a lot.
Absolutely.
Where it's just like, these ruffians just thinking up a grift and executing the grift. Obviously the style's a lot different. This is like self-consciously like classical and old-timey, whereas Mann is like deliberately kind of forward-looking. Like there's some like Scott Joplin shit all over the soundtrack on this. Everyone is like dressed in like Great Depression finery. This is an Edith Head costume joint, which is awesome. She worked a lot with like Hitchcock and stuff, and she's like the one costume designer, classic era costume designer I can name off the top of my head, thanks in part to They Might Be Giants.
That's one more than me.
And also there's like a great like murderer's row of character actors in this that I didn't mention already.
I mean, there's Robert Shaw, Charles Durning, Ray Walston.
And
Jack Kehoe, Robert Earl Jones, Lee Paul.
Yeah, the one I was thinking of was Charles Durning, who I'm more familiar with as as the dude in Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yes.
But he's kind of like a Coen repertoire player, right?
Yeah, he's in...
Or was, I think.
Actually, you might be wrong. I think that might be the only one.
Is that the only one he was in?
Oh, he was in the Hudsucker Proxy as well. So 2.
Ah, that's the one. I guess 2 movies doesn't make you a stable member.
Yeah. He was also in a movie I quite like, the film adaptation of Death of a Salesman with Dustin Hoffman.
He was in a bunch of shit. He was in Dog Day Afternoon. He was in... Yeah, he had quite he had a distinguished career, I would say. So yeah, this movie has what I like to call Bugs Bunny energy.
Yes, very much so.
Where it's just like it's a couple of wise guys putting one over on the people pursuing them. It's like, oh, I'll get you, Robert Redford.
Nothing ever has like high stakes, even when murder is on the line. Yeah,
there's like this movie has like a body count, but it's really light for a movie that features like that basically features race motivated murder right at the top.
Yeah. And that the one of our characters is basically fleeing their own death the entire film as well.
This is Robert Redford,
yes.
Right? Yes. This George Roy Hill, who the George Roy Hill movie that I'm more... George Roy Hill had like a wild 1970s, and I think he's like kind of like he's not someone with... I think I must have talked about this during the whatever we were talking about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but I think George Roy Hill, even though he's like a multiple-time Academy Award winner, is kind of unheralded as like a popular 70s filmmaker.
Well, because the other ones are like auteurs. You don't think of George Roy Hill as an auteur exactly, even if he does really. In his own way have his like specific style, specific themes, and I think his version of Slaughterhouse-Five is kind of fascinating. But you don't.
Slaughterhouse-Five fucking rules.
Yeah, like what a way to adapt that film or adapt that book.
I think Slaughterhouse-Five has some of the best match cuts in movie history.
Yeah,
like up there. And his this is his run from 69 to 77. This is the 5-movie run. Butch Cassidy, Slaughterhouse-Five, The Sting, The Great Waldo Pepper, which is another Redford joint, and then Slapshot, which is one of the great sports movies of all time with Paul Newman. And that's a very impressive 5-movie run.
Certainly. Not a single bad movie in that.
Ask me about how I think Slapshot is one of the great movies about Rust Belt ennui. Not today, but later.
I just assumed since you're Canadian, if it's a hockey movie, you have more opinions about it than I do.
So you say that, but I haven't seen Goon.
Really?
Which by all measures I should have seen.
It seems like a very Derek movie.
I would probably like it, because I mean,
you're a big Sean William Scott fan.
Yes, I'm a Stifler completist.
I mean, hey, he was great in Southland Tales.
That's right, he's in that.
One of the best movies of the new millennium. But unfortunately, sadly, it's not on this list.
I still have not seen Southland
Tales. Which is
Tales.
fucking wild to me.
Because
I'm really hoping that the release that they're doing pretty soon is going to have the extended cut on it.
Everyone else in Dim the House Lights likes that movie, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I know that me, Ross, and Juan all love it. I don't know what Chris's feelings on it is.
I guess we could just ask. But okay, so how much time do we have left on The Sting?
Not much. We are basically done. All I did want to say before we end, that Charles Durning was also in a movie called Kinky Killers in 2007. So you can check that out if you want to, but the cover looks wonderful.
So is it people killing kinky people or kinky people killing people?
Patients of sexy psychiatrist Dr. Jill Kessie and eccentric attorney Alexander Hathaway are being murdered in bloody satanic rituals. Law enforcement investigations reveal that sex and mutilation are the signatures of a serial killer who likes to tattoo each of the victims after they are murdered. Lead detective Barry Harper discovers that some beautiful professional women are prey, or are they doing the preying?
You said this came out in 2007?
Yes.
Because this sounds like some shot on video shit from 1984.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it sure does, but the cover is 100% 2007.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, on that note, Charles Durning being the link here, I guess, between the two, let's talk about No Country for Old Men. A movie that we also both quite liked.
A movie with some of the kinkiest killers out there.
one killer with a very kinky haircut and a kinkier weapon.
Yeah, this is, I think, my 6th time watching No Country this year. I watched it literally last night, even though I've seen it, only 3 times this year. 6 times overall, according to Letterboxd, but...
Is this one of your dungeon movies?
No, you said this, I think we agreed last time this was not a dungeon movie.
That this was not a dungeon movie, that's true, because
I think we said it was more of a dungeon movie than whatever the fuck we were talking about, but...
I think it was Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
So, No Country for Old Men. Is it the best Coen Brothers movie? I think that's like the easy way out.
I mean, I would either say this or I'd probably go with A Serious Man as like the actual best one, but I don't really rewatch A Serious Man that much. I think it's a better film, but it's a lot. It takes more work. It's a more difficult film. This film is a lot more easily just goes down so simple.
So this is like just a down and dirty crime deal from the brothers Coen. Basic plot.
Guy stumbles on some money that he's not supposed to have. Someone comes to track it down.
Yeah, that easy. And then those 2 guys are tracked down by the law, who is played with great flippancy and stoicity by Tommy Lee Jones.
Who is severely underrated, I think, in this film. Like, this is one of his best roles, and I think he easily competes with Bardem and Brolin in terms of who's doing the best work in this movie.
Oh, everyone's doing great work.
You got Garrett Dillahunt, who is, I think, secretly one of my favorite actors. Like, I love everything he does. Kelly MacDonald is
Pacific Rim?
From Pacific Rim?
Is he in that?
He is not in that movie. What? I was thinking Assassination Jesse James, The Road, Looper, 12 Years a Slave, Last House on the Left, The Believer. He's in a lot of fucking really great movies. I really don't. Are you thinking of Charlie Human?
No, I'm thinking of someone else from Pacific
Idris
Rim,
Elba.
No, I'm not thinking of Idris Elba. Isabel.
I don't know. Maybe you thought that Garrett Dillahunt was a very different person. I'm googling Pacific Rim. Are you thinking of Charlie from It's Always Sunny?
No, I'm not thinking of Charlie Day.
Who the fuck are you thinking of?
That's what I'm looking up. Who am I confusing this guy with? Hold on.
The only thing what I can think of is Charlie Human.
I was thinking of Bern Gorman.
What a name. Oh, he was the dude in that. Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, he was the dude in that.
Why was that of confusion for you?
I don't know. Brains are weird things.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, Deep Bench. And I think the thing that we're going to come back to this film because, sorry, like not to give spoilers, I think it's going to beat The Sting. But,
I think it's going to beat The Sting.
The thing I think we're going to come back to is that there's so many... I think the reason I can watch this film over and over again is not just the fact that it's entertaining, like genuinely really fun to watch. It also, I think, is one of the perfect middlebrow films in that it's fun to watch. Like, it's entertaining for just an average audience member, but it's also kind of really weird. Like, you don't really realize how weird it is till you break it down, like, what each shot is trying to do and how they're trying to progress certain things and the amount of faith it puts in the audience to be able to follow what's happening. Even though it's elliptical a lot of times, it cuts out things that are usually essential to these kinds of films. And it has so much attention to detail.
Yeah, just Bardem's character. Everything about that character is like, that's a decision.
Yes.
That's a call. And I guess some of that, invariably is McCarthy, but a lot of that is just Coen.
Yeah. I think like a lot of the ways they choose to shoot it, the ways they choose to like direct certain things, like something as simple as there's the insert shot of when there's the famous gas station scene, and there's the insert shot of like he crumples up that bag of like seeds and puts it on the counter, and there's an insert shot of it just expanding back out.
Sure. Which
is such a perfect, wonderful moment that you usually don't get in films. It reminded me a lot of what's his name? Man Who Fell to Earth. Not David Bowie, obviously, but the director.
Nicholas Roeg?
Yes, exactly. Like, he used the same level of, like, detail in his films, the same level of specificity, especially in Bad Timing is the name of the film?
With Art Garfunkel. With Art Garfunkel.
Yeah. The use of that reminded me a lot of that film, which is also an incredible film. But I'm going to let you talk for a second before I talk about one of my favorite things, and the thing I talk about almost every time I talk about this movie.
Okay. This was my second or third time rewatching this movie. It's fucking dope. It I'm kind of just a mark for like crime movies where someone's chasing a bag of money, and when someone is chasing the person chasing a bag of money, it's like it's why I like Elmore Leonard shit.
Yep.
It's Woody fucking Harrelson is in this movie. I can't believe I forgot that.
He's so good in it too.
He's very good. Like when we talk about the great American actors, it's a shame that we don't talk about Woody Harrelson very much because he's just been doing good work for like 30 fucking years and in like every conceivable genre. In any case,
he also. I just want to say real quick, he has one of my favorite line readings in this film, which is when he's asked to give his appraisal of Anton Chigurh, and he just like slurs out, "He's a psychopathic killer," but so what? And it's like the way he says it, it's so like rhythmic and just like he's not giving a shit, which is perfect for the character, but also perfect for Woody. I love it. It's a great moment.
This movie ends really poignantly, and I think it's kind of it kind of ties into this thing you were talking about, this being the perfect Middlebrow movie, because I think this whole movie kind of prepares, for lack of a better term, average viewer for that ending, which is one of the great endings in movies, full stop.
Yeah, 100%. And it's wild that a film, like if you just take that ending out of context and say, hey, here's a crime movie, here's how it ends, I would not guess that thing is going to make $171 million.
No, it was a genuine hit. And I don't know if it's still the biggest hit. I don't know. I remember True Grit doing very, very well whenever that came out, which I think was the movie they made after that, right?
Yes.
So they were like in a moment, like this is where the Coen brothers got their mojo back.
Oh no, Burn After Reading, and then A Serious Man were both after that. Oh man, shit. That's a great run.
So yeah, what was it? No Country, Serious Man. No, Burn After Reading, Serious Man, True Grit,
and then Inside Llewyn Davis.
And then that's a great 5-movie run.
Yeah.
Oh, not a bad movie. Not even a okay movie. Those are like 5 like good to great, good to masterpiece movies.
Absolutely.
Oh God. So what did you want to talk about? What's the thing you like talking about?
My favorite thing to talk about in this movie, because one of the things, it's so many little choices that add up to so much more to me, is the way that both Moss and Chigurh treat their wounds after they get hurt.
Okay.
Because
I see. Okay, sure.
So it's not just the fact that I love movies with details and I love movies that show exact processes for things and exact processes. Like, I like seeing things made by hand, like ready-made solutions for problems. But the way that each one goes about solving their like injuries is so like perfect for their characters. Like obviously early on, Moss gets shot in the shoulder, and then you see him like pulling the buckshot out of his shoulder later on, patching himself up, going and getting some new clothes, everything like that. Whereas Chigurh gets shot and he lights a car on fire, basically makes a car bomb, and then steals a bunch of medication. And then my favorite moment is to disinfect like his giant leg wound. He pokes a bunch of holes in the top of a bottle of I think it's like iodine or something like that, and he shakes it up and uses it as like a spray bottle. And it's such a little moment that I just find so satisfying to see, is like that exact process, and that of course this character would solve this problem in this way. Of course this character, who is like this cold, distant, almost unfeeling like force of nature, acts in this like precise, exact sort of way. He seems to know exactly what to do in every single moment. Like he's prepared for this. Like it's happened many times before, clearly. And I really enjoy it. I don't know if you get what I'm saying with that, but
no, I get it. It's like a metonymy.
Exactly. I just like watching people in movies clean their wounds. I don't know why. It's very fun for me.
I've done 2 podcasts in my life with the little DTHL crew. Stuck in the Middle with You, I do with someone who is really into people in the movies who are beat up and bloodied. And the second podcast that I'm doing, Middlebrow Madness, is with somebody who enjoys seeing people sew themselves up. So don't...
In my defense, have you ever like, I don't know if you got in any shenanigans when you were a kid, but did you ever come home like as a kid where like you were like covered in blood and like you had like a giant like cut or something, and then you like wash it off and like clean it and everything like that, and then isn't that like satisfying?
I mean, it's satisfying in that I know that it will start hurting less and it'll start healing up. But also that's just like my day to day. I have 2 cats.
Fair enough.
Like I sent pictures in the chat of like my cat Ruby, who is adorable and who is very nice and gives me hugs all the time, fucking carved up both of my arms and hands not too long ago because she was picking a fight with the other cat. And I did the thing that you're not supposed to do when cats are fighting, is you pick them up with your fucking hand. The thing is, with hands, you can grab a thing. So, you know.
You can. I agree. That's what they're made for.
I took the L on that, but, you know.
No, I just, like, in a way, like, when I used to skateboard all the time, I used to, like, BMX bike, and, like, when I would fall, It would almost be satisfying in some way where it's like, oh, there's blood all over my arm, I get to clean that up, like, it would dry, and, like, cleaning up that up, and then, like, repairing it, for some reason, its own kind of satisfying. I don't know if that even makes sense, or if that tracks to anybody else, but...
I mean, it kind of makes sense, but you're kind of talking about treating your wounds like I would have talked about getting a fucking Happy Meal when I was 6. You know?
Is it that different?
A little bit. They don't sell blood at McDonald's.
Well, I mean,
okay, let's not open that fucking bag of worms. Let's not tread the well-trodden territory of, is there blood on McDonald's hands?
Oh, I could get out my high horse, my vegan high horse, and like sit on that for a while. We can have that discussion. We're not going to. That'd be the worst fucking thing in the world.
We could talk about Morgan Spurlock if you'd rather.
Oh God, no! Let's just move on to Knights of Cabiria, please.
Well, before we even get to Cabiria, we've got to talk about Leon, and before we even talk about Leon, we got to crown one of these two movies the winner.
Oh yeah, it's No Country.
It's No Country. Sorry, The Sting. You're really good.
I did really like The Sting, and I wish it would have gone against something I wouldn't have liked as much, so I could have watched it again for this podcast, but instead I'll have to watch it again on my own time, like some sort of scrub.
Like, I don't know, you could just like hop the George Roy Hill completion train and just kind of like fill out your holes with what's left. Like, have you seen Slapshot?
No, I haven't.
That is a good raunchy ass movie starring the sexiest man of the 70s, Mr. Paul Newman.
But if I'm not doing something for content, Derek, if I can't create content out of it, what's the point?
I mean, you could just probably write a tweet about it saying, I watched Slapshot. It's misogynistic as fuck, but it's fun as hell.
I don't think I'd get a lot of engagement on that one. I gotta check my engagement numbers on Twitter.
How many people are following you for the hockey content, Isabel?
100% of them, probably. I mean, apparently I'm on Twitter now, and a thrash metal band just followed me, so maybe they're there for the hockey.
Maybe they're there for the hockey. So let's talk about something that's a little less pleasant than hockey.
Okay. Which,
to be fair, is most things. But among them is, anyway, let's just fucking set this up. I was trying to do a segue and I failed. So matchup number 2 today, number 30, Leon the Professional, written and directed by Luc Besson. I don't know why I said it like an Anglo. Written and directed by Luc Besson. Starring Jean Reno, Gary Oldman, Natalie Portman. $46 million take on a $10 million budget. And went 0 for 7 at the César Awards, which is the French equivalent of the Academy Awards. It got donuted against I did say that Leon was the 30th seed. The 30th seed, Isabel.
Good Lord.
I mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll talk about it. Against the 227 seed Knights of Cabiria, written and directed by Federico Fellini, written by Federico Fellini, Ennio Flaiano, Tullio Pinelli, and Pier Paolo Pasolini.
Everyone's favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
Pasolini fucking rules. It sucks that there's none of his stuff on this list.
What would be on this list of Pasolini's?
Honestly, it would probably be Salo. People that's the most famous.
That's the most famous.
And like this is a list of famous shit.
But I think that Salo, which is not a movie to say that I like it would be a lie, because it's kind of a torturous watch, literally.
Yes, but I think for what it's trying to do, I think it's pretty incredible. There's this whole wave of movies from Italy in the 1970s that are very brutalist in construction, and Salo might be like the epitome of it. Yeah, I think it's 100% an accurate thing to say.
So Knights of Cabiria, starring a lot of people, but mostly Giulietta Messina. And I didn't really find budget stats on this, but it did win Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars that year. So what do we talk about when we talk about Luc Besson?
That's a really big question. Should we talk about his movies first? Should we talk about him as a person?
I think
before starting this podcast, I was not as aware of the fact that he's apparently a terrible fucking human being. But
yeah, he's not great.
I think here. Let's start shit sandwich. Let's do good things. I think he makes really good movies.
I think a lot of his movies are pretty good.
I really love The Fifth Element. Still love The Fifth Element. Lucy, I think, is a favorite for the whole group in Did the House Lights.
Yep.
Valerian and the Save a Thousand Plants, I actually thought was pretty good. I think people really underrated it when it came out.
I want to go back and watch Subway. That's his first one.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. And The Big Blue seems like it could be a thing.
Besson has a style. It's this askew, it's kind of now synonymous with kind of cheap French knockoffs of American movies. Sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. And in his movies, and as we'll discuss in his life, I think he gets a lot. And at the risk of sounding very insensitive and crass, I think he gets a lot of slack because he's French. I
don't think you're wrong, honestly.
I say this as a French Canadian.
Yes.
And Leon.
I'm German, so I should probably not be too mean to the French.
Leon, a favorite of budding cinephiles because it's kind of a crime action movie presented in kind of a skewed fashion. We were talking about choices just now with No Country for Old Men. This too is a movie that makes choices. They're not as subtle or as not thought out, but there are a lot of sort of surface level kind of aesthetic choices, and they're not grace notes. It's a lot of Besson's movies are taking a trope and making it a little askew. Oh, Jean Reno, the hitman who drinks milk. Haha. The fake name that they use to check at the hotel is MacGuffin. Haha. Clever.
Clever's, I guess, a way to put it.
That's one way to put it. It's kind of silly, but see, I don't want to make this. There's a lot of reasons to not like this movie, and I don't want to spend this whole time dunking on the country of my ancestors.
I mean,
but
if we're going to continue the shit sandwich section, this is the shit section, and we should talk about the problems that we have with him and with his film, and then we can end it with you saying the things you actually liked about Leon. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah. So, Luc Besson knocked up a 16-year-old back in the day.
Yeah, he sure did.
He sure did.
And started dating her when she was 15.
Yeah, I found this out late. I found this out, within the last 18 months.
I found this out, 2 weeks ago whenever I watched Leon. I was because, okay, spoilers. I watched Leon, I was like, hey, I have some problems with this. What was Luc Besson thinking? And then I went to his Wikipedia page, I was like, oh, that's what Luc Besson was thinking. And I think...
So, pray tell, what problems might you have with this motion picture, Isabel?
I mean, the elephant in the room is that one of the main characters in the film, Leon the Professional, is played by Natalie Portman. She was 12 at the time of filming.
Yeah, 12, 13, something like that.
And the film shoots her sexually. There's no way they really get around it. The film shoots her in certain ways that she's supposed to be sexually appealing, and presents her as a person who is attempting to have sexual agency and a sexual relationship with Jean Reno's character. And this is never presented as the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, not if we're feeling real at our most charitable, we could say that Luc Besson shoots Natalie Portman in this movie sometimes like she's someone who fucks. Which
at
is
the most charitable,
ghastly.
Yeah.
At the most charitable, yes. And for those who maybe are not clear on the math there, Jean Reno, our good friend Jean Reno, was, let's see if I'm doing my math correctly, carry the 3. Jean Reno was 46 at the time of the shooting of this film.
Oh, boy.
Jean Reno is an old man now. He's 70.
That's kind of sad. I like Jean Reno quite a bit. And I do, we'll get to, the section at the end, but I do think Natalie Portman does a really good job in her role. I don't think it's obviously, she was 12. It's not her fault how she was shot. It's not really something you can control over. But this is, we're going to have to put a trigger warning at the front of this episode anyways. So I'm just going to, be, super clear about this. I'm not going to be explicit, but if you've been on, the bad parts of the internet, as I'm sure, like, I was on 4chan a couple times when I was a kid. I was on Encyclopedia Dramatica, all that kind of shit. The kind of people who also post, like, lolicon and are really proud about being into that really like this movie. And
God.
I think that that's a damning statement in and of itself.
Yeah, if what a weird sentence that's going to come out of my mouth. If child pornographers are into your film, maybe something went wrong up the chain.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. And, like, we were discussing this before on, like, how do you fix this in this film? And I really do think it's as simple as, A, change how she's shot. Possibly change up some of her costuming as well, because, Jesus.
Oh, she wears some shit that, oh, man. I know the 90s were a different time. I know that, like, 90s fashion is, like, different.
Yeah,
but
still.
Jesus Christ, eh?
So that, and then plus, if you just have Leon say, hey, I'm not going to have this relationship with you because it's wrong, because you're 12. If he just said that, but instead they construct this, like, he never says that. Instead he says, here's why I'm sad, and here's this tragic backstory I have.
He literally says, this is why I'd be a shitty lover. Not,
which is,
yo, not you're 12.
Not how you deal with that situation. Like, I don't want to sound like a prude.
Oh,
like, I think that there can be good movies about really gross and awful things.
Here's the thing.
There are good movies about pedophilia. Where there's, like, I think that Happiness is a great film. That's a film that portrays its pedophile in a way that's, like, genuinely interesting and also has the right amount of condemnation for him and portrays it as a terrible thing. And there's also there's a version of this movie where it's relatively chaste and it's kind of funny and goofy. This movie tries to straddle a line where it's trying to be, oh, this is fun, like, we're just relaxed, we're just having a good time. But also, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'm Luc Besson, I dated a 15-year-old.
Here's the thing. I'll do you one better. There's a great tradition of European exploitation films about this exact subject that are gross and damning in equal amount.
There's a Serge Gainsbourg album about this.
Yeah, and...
also, I apologize to all the French people for pronouncing his name however I just pronounced it.
Gainsbourg, s'il vous plaît.
Jesus Christ.
So now now this is the point in the conversation where I've got a cape for the parts that I like of this movie.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman fucking kicks ass in this movie.
Absolutely. He's shooting so much scenery, and that's really fun.
Noted dogshit human being, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, God.
Oh, Lord. Well, the performances are not the problem here. I mean, some of the parts are underwritten. I mean, it is a Luc Besson movie. Characterization is not one of the strong suits of this particular writer-director. Even before I knew of Mr. Besson's backstory, the shine kind of came off of this movie because this is like an okay action movie with some, like, goofs.
Yeah, I don't even think it's, like, the best of his films.
No.
I would definitely prefer Fifth Element or Lucy over this.
I think this is like the gateway drug because it was an American production. I think that's probably why Fifth Element is also kind of one of these gateway movies.
And I will say one scene that I did want to point out that I liked quite a bit is the opening scene where the titular Leon is trying to basically teach someone a lesson, and he leans out of the darkness and, like, holds a knife to a guy's throat, and then, like, to leave, he just leans back in, and when you get a wide shot, there's no way he could have left the building, but it takes an almost magical realist moment of, like, him literally becoming one with the shadows. It's genuinely a great shot, and, like, a great cut and a great edit.
Fucking Les Claypool looking motherfucker.
Yeah, God. Yeah,
this is kind of a movie that's at war with itself a little bit. Because I really want to appreciate it as, like, sort of the goofy action lark that it so desperately wants to be, but there's a lot of it, and maybe this is just me aging out of it. A lot of it seems kind of precious and cute.
Yeah,
when not just outright disgusting. Like, I still gave this movie 3 stars. I think there's plenty of shit to like here, but there's a lot of this, like. A lot of this movie is just kind of precious and French, I guess. There's a lot of French movies, like, that are, like, French comedies or French action movies, not like art films or whatever, but, like, French genre movies
Like Lockout.
Like Lockout, but Lockout's different because Lockout is like, I think it's like
It's
a co-production. Awesome. It's also awesome. There's a strain of like preciousness about it that I can't really jibe with. That's why the French hate me.
Who's that like one like French director everyone fucking loves? Mr. Amélie?
Mr. Genet, Jean-Pierre Genet.
Yeah, I think
who directed Alien Resurrection as well.
God, we'll get to Amelie because it's definitely on this list, but I'll save my criticisms of him until then. But
is it on here?
It has to be. It's the foreign film that everyone knows.
85. It's facing off against Shutter Island.
Oh, interesting matchup. Let's say that
It's going to be a very interesting matchup. So yeah, there's like a strain of the preciousness in French genre cinema that is like either you vibe with it or you don't, and I generally don't. And it's not really different here. I must have aged out of it. The action shit is fine. The goofs are fine. And like the older I get, it seems the more like the Natalie Portman subplot plays a lot more different when you're 16. I'm 31 now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, hooray.
Hooray. But now we get to talk about our buddy Federico Fellini.
Fred Fellini is.
We talked about it. Feels like just like a week or two ago. We talked about him.
Yeah. The last time we talked about him,
2 weeks ago. Well, 2 episodes ago.
2 episodes ago, we talked about 8.5, and now this is a movie that is before that, correct?
Yes, I believe almost immediately before that.
So this is one of the 8.5.
Yes. Oh, this is not almost immediately before that. I don't know why I said that. This is 57, and then 8.5 is 63. So
it's before. So yeah, Knights of Cabiria is really fucking good, and struck me immediately as an Isabel movie as it wrapped up, especially in its second half, because it kind of reminded me of a movie that we had covered previously on the show, One Winter Light.
Yeah, I would say it also reminds me a lot of Cleo from 5 to 7. Yes,
the Desvarda film.
Yes.
So yeah, this is functionally a movie starring. So Julieta Messina plays a sex worker, a woman of the night, and we are introduced to her getting pushed into the river by a John, I guess.
I think it was supposed to be her pimp.
Oh, it's supposed to be her pimp.
I might be inaccurate. Either way, he's never seen it again. Relatively
some
speaking,
dude, it doesn't matter. Some guy, some asshole, and most of the people that Cabiria frequents are assholes. Her friends are kind of like mean to her, and basically she spends half of the movie trying to get her dude back. She spends the second third of the movie trying to ask the Virgin Mary for forgiveness, and spends the third third of the movie getting shat on by the world and apparently being at peace with that.
Yeah, it's a good way to structure any film, in my opinion.
The world shits on you. You exist in the world, and the world continues to shit on you.
Yes, when you say it's like a very me movie, I was kind of dreading this going in. I think we talked about that previously before, because I was like, well, I didn't really love 8.5, and 8.5 is more like my style traditionally. I like stylized things. I like weird things. I like things a little bit more out there. Whereas Knights of Cabiria is more or less a realist film.
Yeah, it's kind of like an old fashioned, like sort of not a kitchen sink drama, but like it's realistic. It's like what's the word I'm looking for?
Grounded.
Different word. It has verisimilitude.
Okay, verisimilitudinous.
Yes.
So I was genuinely surprised when I went in, and I just found myself falling more and more in love with the film. I think that Julieta Messina is incredible in it. Like, genuinely one of her performances ever that I've seen, because she switches between this. She's often compared to Chaplin, which I think is a super accurate comparison. Like the way she uses her eyebrows, the way she expresses things, her physical acting, and then it switches between that and harrowing, very subtle acting. Like when she is attempting to get forgiveness when she's in that church and she's holding a candle and the candle blows out. The look on her face is so tiny, but so gut-wrenching when you see it. Like, you can see her hopes fading in that exact moment. You can see she's trying to make this effort. She's trying to do this thing to turn her life around, but she feels like she can't, and she feels like it was, like, maybe it's hopeless, that there isn't any salvation for her.
Like, to your point about her acting style, her sort of Chaplin-esque acting style, it's basically kind of a spunky, coquettish energy, and just, like, wails to the heavens.
Yeah.
It's like, just, like, spoiler alert for a fucking 50-year-old movie, or a 60-year-old movie, but, like, towards the end, she finds love. She will get married, and she sells her house, and has, like, a $750,000 lira in her pocket. And
the entire time, this is not going to go well.
This is not going to end well, because this is not that kind of movie. And so the dude, like, she's got, like, the money in a satchel, and they go up on, like, a cliff top, and it's beautiful. It's like overlooking a lake or a river or something. And she's just, like, gabbing on about how great the sunset is, and she turns around, and hard cut to the dude just sweating bullets. And immediately she realizes, I was going to get fucking knocked off for my money.
Yep.
And then it's, like, the most heart-wrenching 5 minutes of acting. And the dude doesn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, and then she, like, it's like suddenly all, like, the problems, all the shit that she had to deal with for the entire movie, it all comes out at once. Every single thing just pours out of her. And even, like, the guy who was basically took her up here to steal her money, possibly kill her, is, like, afraid of her because she's so emotional all of a sudden, because she's letting all of these things out. And I love that moment where, like, he looks genuinely afraid of what she's going to do, even though he's the violent actor here. But it, like, seeing this real human emotion is so unnerving and so disturbing for him.
Yeah, basically her reaction basically raises up, like, a moral mirror to what he was about to do. It's like, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe killing someone is bad.
And I think, like that moment is what pays off the rest of the Chaplin-esque, like, exaggeration earlier, because she feels like a really pure character. Like, even when she's doing things that you might think are kind of, like, not the greatest things to do, or even when she's being hurt, when she's being mistreated, she has this kind of optimistic air to her. Like, she has this sense that things are going to go right. And then you finally see that collapse. Like, the idea that things are not going to go right. Things are going to go worse. And
it's a perpetual collapse, because things go from not getting better to getting actively worse.
Yeah. But then the end, like you just stated, like, the end of the film is her walking away. She's broke. She sold her house, so she doesn't have a house anymore.
Homeless.
She doesn't have any of her clothes. She has none of her possessions anymore. She just has whatever she's wearing, and she theoretically somehow has to get back to her, like, one friend who seemed to actually kind of like her, who is Wanda, miles and miles away at this point. But I think it's a wedding party, starts walking through, and they're playing music and they're dancing around her, and she smiles. And I don't have the words to describe that moment. It was so purely wonderful and joyous.
It's like a moment of pure hope.
Yeah.
Which I don't say lightly.
No, and I think, like, it's in a movie that didn't earn it, it would feel cheap. And I think it's to this movie's credit that it feels entirely right, and there was no cynicism left in me by that time, so it just worked perfectly, and it just felt. It's one of my favorite movie endings I've ever seen, to be frank.
Let's metagame a little bit.
Okay.
Giulietta Messina was Federico Fellini's wife. I think, this is like an incredible motion picture to begin with. And I think one of the things that makes it great is, like, this incredible amount of trust that is put in Messina as a performer. Because she shoulders a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
Like the other performances are fine, but this is a showcase. Like, the breadth and depth of the shit on screen coming from the same human being, and it's fucking phenomenal.
I would put it up there with like things like Laura Dern in Inland Empire for me, or Possession, Ajani.
Isabella Ajani.
Yeah, Like that level of like, wow, I can't believe I just saw someone do all that.
And yeah, and she does like good acting choice at the end as well, where she doesn't just stare down the barrel of the camera. She kind of glances away. She doesn't. It's like, I feel like a movie that didn't earn it, to continue with what you said, just has her look down the barrel. Whereas this movie, the fact that
like,
she
glances at the audience every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's not just, hey, do you get it? Kind of looking ahead.
No, it's like she can hardly believe that she's smiling herself.
Yeah.
Man, this is a good fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a really good fucking movie. Which, to be honest, I didn't expect going in, because, I expected it to be perfectly well. To be perfectly well, that's not how you say that. To be perfectly fine. Because, like, Federico Fellini seems like a very good director. Seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Slowly but surely we will cease being Fellini Philistines, and we will see more of his movies. Although I think this is it for his entries in the tournament.
Is La Strada or La Dolce Vita not on it?
La Strada is not on there, and La Dolce Vita is not on there. So I think this is it for Mr. Fellini.
Well, but
although
I think he's going to go forward though, so we'll see him again.
Yeah, he's definitely going forward now. I mean, we did like a couple of yahoos send Inception to the second round over 8.5.
Yeah,
but
I still believe in that one.
Yeah, I still believe in it as well. But this time around, Knights of Cabiria thoroughly demolishing Leon the Professional, knockout in like the second round. This was not a fight. This is a massacre.
Absolutely. So good movies besides one of them, but the rest of them.
Besides one of them.
Are pretty fucking great movies.
If I'm being generous, the most generous thing I could say is that it did not age well.
We all know that pedophilia was fine in the 90s.
Anyways. That means we are done for this episode's matchup. So that means in round 2 we will have No Country for Old Men versus Knights of Cabiria. Ooh.
I actually, like, looking at that, I don't know which I choose.
Well, thankfully you have like 3 years to think about it.
God, Jesus, yeah.
So what do we have next time? Well, I'm glad you asked, hypothetical listener. What we have next time for Middlebrow Madness, the next 2 matchups. The Dark Knight Rises versus Andrei Rublev. And Wall-E versus The Truman Show.
That's some matchups.
Those are definitely matchups.
What I am kind of shocked by is that... what do you call it? I was the one who had to add Solaris, but Andrei Rublev is on this list. It seems like...
He's already on there. That's true.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Stalker is as well, which makes sense, but I would not... For some reason, I would think that like Solaris and Stalker are the 2 that you go for. Not really Andrei Rublev, but...
Maybe it's because Andrei Rublev is where you start?
Maybe. And I it's his most grounded, most like, hey, I've seen movies before, I know how movies work.
But Solaris was like remade. Like, it's got cachet.
Yeah, but no one really liked the remake that much either. I mean, I thought it was pretty decent, but I think Solaris is too slow, to be frank. I think Solaris is far too slow.
The Tarkovsky Solaris?
Yes.
Well, I guess we won't ever get to that because the movie is not on this list.
I added it. I just said this.
Oh, right.
Gotta keep up.
I guess I do have to keep up on my own show.
We're definitely watching that shit. I fucking love Solaris.
It's against the Dark Knight.
To be fair, I think that's actually a more difficult matchup than I would care to admit, but Solaris is fucking something else.
You heard it here first. Christopher Nolan, a better director than Andrei Tarkovsky.
Fuck off.
So
I mean, I guess according to the 250, isn't he?
Well, we've already anointed Christopher Nolan
King of the Middlebrow,
our greatest living middlebrow filmmaker. So
yes.
So we'll see how Andrei Tarkovsky sizes up. Because he'll be going, like, both movies are going up against Christopher Nolan movies. They're both going up against Batman movies. Wow.
This list is weird, Derek.
Yep.
Have we ever talked about how weird the fucking IMDb list is? Like, goddamn.
I think our first 4 episodes were mostly, man, this fucking list is weird.
Yeah.
This is a weird list. So now we gotta take care of the show's back matter, I think.
Speaking of a sponsorship from Brad Dragon. You gotta get one every episode. That's what she said of this podcast.
It's like, I gotta take care of some back matter. Sponsored by Bad Dragon.
But what are we doing? Do we say like what we do now, or like how to find us, or whatever?
Well, that's what I'm about to do.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so if you want to get in contact with us, if you want to send us some, what is it we want? We want recipes.
We want recipes, preferably with vegan options, and we want hate mail.
And we want hate mail. We want to be cursed out. And so if you feel like sending us either of those things, you can send it to middlebrowmadness@gmail.com. Alternately, you could invade our DMs with hate mail at middlebrowpod on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Derek_G, and you can find Isabel on Twitter at SpaceJamFan. And I think we're on Spotify now, and I also think we are on Stitcher now, as are all the other shows on the Noise Space podcast network run by our friend Matt.
Nice swag.
We've never plugged them. This is the 14th episode, and we've never once said that we are on the Noise Space podcast network. A bunch of other shows that you can listen to, including
Sorry, I went to our iTunes page, and we have a new review, Derek.
Hey, yeah. What does it say?
It's by Ass Eater 1 Official.
Sure.
And Ass Eater 1 Official says, "Now that's a podcast, 2 stars, and the content of the review is, I am going to destroy Mark Maron." So, I'll be frank, don't entirely know what to make of that review, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
Yep. All the reviews count, even the really cryptic ones. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought.
I apologize. I just couldn't help myself. I saw it and my laughs came out of me.
Oh yeah, noisespace.xyz.
Yes.
Bespoke Artisanal Podcasts, a truly independent podcast network. Maybe you've heard of some of the other shows, including Stuck in the Middle with You. That's a show I do/did with my friend Juan Barquin. And maybe you are familiar with Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, which is a politics podcast.
The most popular of the podcasts on the network.
I believe so. And there's also all sorts of shit.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
So, noisespace.xyz. Get on it. Question mark? That's a...
No, exclamation point.
Exclamation point, yes. Get on it, exclamation point. That's a fucking ringing endorsement there. Endorsement. I don't know why I turned into a cartoon gangster for a second. That's a ringing endorsement.
The bullets from Roger Rabbit all of a sudden.
God damn. Maybe this is going... Like, we stayed on the rails pretty well for most of the episode, so it's just as well that it goes completely off the rails towards the end. So maybe... So at the risk of making this metaphorical train like loop-de-loop into a ditch and causing fatalities, I think we should sign off. So if you would.
I really thought for some reason I don't know why I thought this, but like maybe because it's on my mind lately, I thought you were going to talk about the Kentucky Derby's politically correct decision.
I don't really follow the ponies, Isabel.
Okay. Did you at least see the tweets? You're a fan of tweets. You love tweets.
I'm for them generally.
Well, at the Kentucky Derby, this is probably getting all cut. But at the Kentucky Derby, there was a horse that won, and then another horse.
Yeah, what's it called? Fucking overdue rent or washing machine?
No, it was called like Good Winner or something. It was like literally called something like that, like
awesome
like
victory.
Papa's Big Money or something.
Papa's Big Money.
But. So he won, and there was a second place horse, because, there's like more than one horse on the track, otherwise it'd be a pretty boring race.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the first place horse bumped the second place horse, so he was disqualified, so second place horse technically became the winner. And he was called like Country House or something, I think that was. And
old folks home.
After this happened, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, tweeted the following: "The Kentucky Derby decision was not a good one. It was a rough and tumble race on a wet and sloppy track.
Oh,
Actually, a beautiful thing to watch. Only in these days of political correctness could such an event occur. The best horse did not win the Kentucky Derby. Not even close." I love that, like, following the rules of a sport is now political correctness, and it applies to horses as well as people.
God, now I'm just imagining one of those old programming manuals, but instead of, like, C++ for dummies, it's like political correctness for horses.
For horses. Make sure your horse stops saying racial slurs.
Oh,
I feel
God.
like of all the animals, horses probably say the most racial slurs.
In horse.
In English. I think, here's my theory. Horses can talk English, and they're constantly saying racial slurs whenever they're running. I mean, they're rich. Horses are rich. I mean, as far as animals go.
Man, this bit would have been great in like 1992 on like HBO One Night Stand or some shit. It sounds like a George Carlin bit. This literally sounds like a bit that George Carlin would have done.
That is the most insulting thing you've ever said to me in my entire life. Thanks for that, Derek.
Am I wrong, though?
I was just trying to talk about racist horses, but you're over here. I mean, I guess like police dogs are probably more racist, but then like horses. But I'm saying like as a whole, like I think dogs in general aren't racist. But I think that, like, horses in general are kind of racist.
Say your name so this misery can end.
I've been Isabel Arf.
And I've been Derek Gade. Have movies, be jolly.
Have movies, be jolly. Horses are racist and everyone knows it. Good night.
Good night, I guess.